Not Americans of Reddit who visited America. What was the most American moment of the visit? I'm Finnish, and last summer I finally made the trip to America I'd been planning for years. I was doing a solo road trip through Texas. My most American moment happened on day 3 of my trip. I was driving through some small town that wasn't even on my map when my rental car started making this horrible grinding noise. Being in the middle of nowhere with a questionable car was not exactly on my bucket list. I pulled into the only gas station for miles. One of those places with rusty signs and ancient pumps that looked straight out of a movie, the kind where you half expect tumbleweeds to roll by. A woman named Julia was working the counter, chewing gum and watching a small TV. When I explained my situation, she just nodded and said, "Hang tight, honey, I know a guy." 15 minutes later, this massive pickup truck pulls in. I'm talking massive, like monster truck rally massive, with American flags flying from both sides and a gun rack clearly visible in the back window. I'll admit, my European brain went into mild panic mode. The driver, Jacob, got out wearing a cowboy hat, boots with actual spurs. I didn't know people actually wore those, and a belt buckle bigger than my phone. Jacob took one look at my car, then at me standing there sweating in my I heart emoji NY t-shirt. Yes, I was being that tourist, and immediately figured out I wasn't local. "Where you from, darlin'?" he asked. When I said Finland, his face lit up like I'd said I was from Mars. "Well, I'll be. Never met nobody from Finland before. Y'all got cars there?" Before I could process the question, he was already under the hood of my rental. As he worked, he started telling me about his collection of firearms, for protection and sport, ma'am, his 3 ex-wives, bless their hearts, and how his great-great-grandfather fought in some war I pretended to know about. The truly American moment came when I tried to pay him after he fixed my car. It was just a loose belt, apparently. Jacob looked genuinely offended. "Ma'am, we don't take money from visitors to our country. That ain't the American way." Instead, he insisted I follow him to his sister's diner down the road because I looked like I needed some real American food, not that gas station garbage. I was hungry and honestly a bit curious, so I agreed. The diner was exactly what you'd imagine. Red vinyl booths, waitresses calling everyone Han, and portions that could feed a Finnish family for a week. Jacob introduced me to what felt like the entire town. Everyone wanted to hear about Finland, though most questions were along the lines of, "Is that near Russia?" and "Do y'all have freedom there?" What struck me most was how genuinely interested they were. In Finland, we tend to keep to ourselves. Here, I was being treated like a celebrity just for being foreign. When I mentioned I was staying at a motel in the next town, Jacob's sister insisted it wasn't safe for a girl traveling alone and offered me their spare room. The most surreal moment came when they found out I'd never fired a gun. Jacob and his friends looked at me like I'd said I'd never used a fork. Well, we gotta fix that. Next thing I know, we're driving out to someone's property and I'm being handed a shotgun while everyone cheers me on. I was terrified but didn't want to seem rude, so I let Jacob teach me how to shoot at some cans. The whole time he's going on about the Second Amendment and how this is what makes America free. I hit one can and everyone celebrated like I'd won an Olympic medal. That night, they threw an impromptu barbecue in my honor. Someone brought out an American flag cake. They taught me to line dance. They asked me to explain Finnish politics, then glazed over when I tried. They made me try something called sweet tea, which is basically liquid diabetes. I stayed for 2 days in that tiny town I never intended to visit. When I left, half the town came to see me off. Jacob gave me a tiny American flag for my car and his phone number, in case you run into trouble anywhere in the US of A. The whole experience was overwhelming, hilarious, terrifying, and heartwarming all at once.